As I continue through this course careers design course, something that is not going according to plan is how much time I've spent in this initial section on research. I went in a little cocky thinking I do research at my job, I know how to communicate ideas with people. This should be the easiest part. Like, I'm here to learn UX, UI design, how to build this, or I guess design this app, and that has not been the case. I am still in the research section because I have found that it is kind of illuminating for me these gaps that I have felt in my own research over the years and in how I communicate ideas and be convincing and be convinced about a decision that I'm going to make. And by applying some of these design processes, I've I've just become aware of that, and it's really made me slow down and try to internalize this way of thinking that is free to explore intuition and taking risks and like going with your gut and finding a creative way to commit to a decision and make it work. That is how I have been operating, very just by the seat of my pants. And I have loved taking this step back and being like, while that can exist, it can be backed by way more intentional thought, kind of designing the risk that you're about to take, if that makes sense. And while I, while that is a big change for me, it's been nice to have this case study to be like, okay, in a very practical sense, where do I tend to maybe cut corners or say like, okay, that's enough. I'm just ready to go. I'm ready to move on to the next step. And especially in a course setting, I'm feeling that a lot. Like, I can see what's coming. I can see all of the homework that I get to do. I get to see the design elements that I'm about to learn, or the techniques, or what I'm about to do. And I'm very eager to get there. And yet, there are some things that are just really hard. And in what I have been working on for a while now is this user journey map. And really, I'm like, when can this be done? And this is a common theme in my world right now. I have some projects that I'm working on where it's like, I love doing this. Like, I'm doing what I want to do, be it designing or drawing or, you know, a lot of like creative work that I've been craving. And even when I'm in this space, I'm like, okay, but I see what's next, and that's where I want to be. And it's been really important for me to understand that um, the tension that I feel with staying with what's in front of me for however long it stays incomplete is teaching me so much about myself. Like, it has less to do with the art or the design and more to do with me. And the more willing I am to see that right away and to sit with that right away, instead of be like, oh, that something's wrong with this, I'm gonna check it, I'll just start something new, that will be great. I need to like stay with this user journey map for a while. Like, it needs to come to fruition. If I don't figure out what my tension is around like sitting with this data or sitting with this design that just isn't clicking yet, I lose out on this ability to find out about myself. Like, where do I tend to just give up, to move on? And I was not expecting that out of this course. And it's also it's part of why I wanted to do these is I want to keep things moving. Like, I want to learn and I want to process. And at the same time, I don't want to get stuck in perfectionism. And I think that's one of the beautiful things I have been learning about the design process is that it will never take you exactly where you needed to go. For example, I needed to make a decision about one of my side jobs. It felt in alignment for a very long time, and then it just started to feel like it was out of alignment with where I'm taking my life. And before, I would have just been like, I'm going to make this quick, rash decision. I'm not going to think about it. I'm just going to be like, my gut knows. I'm going to walk in, and whatever comes out of my mouth, be it this is my 2 weeks or I'm so excited to stick around, will be what it is. And I decided to put some of these design processes into my thinking before I made that decision. And I think part of me was hoping that as I did collected data on myself and analyzed, what would happen if I stayed versus if I left, what has the experience been so far and what could it be. And I was I think I was hoping that it would just lay out the obvious decision, and that was definitely not the case. But when I was presented with these two choices, both equally valid for their own reasons, and it was just up to me to make a choice, I felt so much better having put in that intentional thought behind that decision. And that sounds super obvious, but for someone like me, that this is like a big deal. So uh, it's been really great to see what this design course has done just for my life in general. And that's what I'm really curious about, is if this if this little bit of looking into design research has made some changes in how I'm starting to think, where else in my life could be benefited by this design process. And again, I think I'd be the first to be tentative to like design my life, like make decisions, like stress over every decision that I make. So I don't think the pendulum's going to swing in that opposite direction, but I want to explore and to share and to process maybe some of these ways that, as I'm learning in a professional sense, I can bring into my personal life and my personal art projects. And it was a trigger to kind of process this and talk about it was I watched the Adjustment Bureau last night, and they talk a lot about kind of free will and the design, or not design, a decision tree or matrix, that you in this reality we are presented with some of these smaller decisions that we get to make. But as soon as our decisions start to veer us off the path, the Adjustment Bureau comes in and it gets us back on course. And I love that the whole premise of the movie is that free will is a gift that we can have if we fight for it. And I think what struck me was that there's some beauty in the balance. Like there is some beauty, I think, to tapping into knowing about ourselves that we are like creatures of habit, and that some form of like structure and design in our life can help us like reduce a, a vast amount of decisions that we could make. And I think what I am seeking in that is, if you don't have any structure at all, it's like every decision you make becomes a really important big decision, versus saving that saving yourself from decision fatigue, so that when it comes to the point where you have to fight for a decision that you want to make, like you're ready for it and you have the ability, you have the capacity to do that. And all of this is coming from me getting stuck on the user journey map for a long time. Because even in this case study, I'm finding I go so quickly to the end result. Like I'm designing, I jumped in and designed how I thought the map was going to look before I even like laid out the contents. Like this is a work in progress for me, and I'm loving how the case study is not just like, let's get this homework done and we'll be good, and like you'll just move on like anything in life. But I really am taking an inventory of like, wait, why is this hard? Like, why am I getting stuck here? And it's not just this course, it's some art projects that I'm working on. I'm like, I'm hitting this, I'm hitting this wall again and again. And instead of jumping ship and just being like, okay, this isn't for me, I'm like, okay, I want to fight for this. Like, this is something that I want to level up in, that I want to push through, that I want to get to the other side and say, like, I did it and I learned something about myself. And that's why I really want to think about exploring these ideas here of like, it's not just Figma and learning Figma. It's not just, getting a job at the end of all of this. It's not just like, how can I make something good for someone else? It's in the process of creating, be it in a professional sense, like for other people. I can learn so much about myself in the process, and I can level up in the process. And in all of those ways, it will make my personal projects go to the next level. It will make my personal life go to the next level. Like, I literally made a life decision after applying what I learned in course careers. So I'm excited for everything that's ahead, and we'll definitely continue to look through and design this case study, other projects that I have going on. But in the end, I think it matters like what I get out of it personally. And in that sense, it's like creating a life designed in an artful, creative way that helps me stay in alignment with what I think is important. And I just want to be able to share that. So thanks for watching.